Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Until I met my new best friend, all of my boys say I'm tripping. When they call, I'm not answering. They always get my voicemail.
Alex, are we rolling? We are rolling. Welcome back to another episode of Sorry I've Been So Busy. This is the podcast where we talk to very busy people about what they're busy with. Sometimes we talk to not very busy people about what they pretend to be busy with all day. Today we have
busy.
Today we have a very busy person, yes, and we're excited to have him on in a few minutes. Andrew Goldstein is here.
At Andrew Gold on Twitter, ANGEGOLD. Both of us have been very busy.
Both of us have been very busy. My name is Matt Goldich, at Matt Goldich, MATTGOLDICH. We're
a lot
here
of
at the
news,
wonderful show
Matt.
for his studios. A lot going on. We're nice to be back in studio.
Yeah.
We had the great live pod.
The
at
live show was
Stand.
so much fun.
That was a blast. Thank you so much to Chris DiStefano and Giannis Pappas, we were a little nervous going in because they got caught in some traffic.
Chrissy D and Yanni P.
And they were running behind, and we were like, but they came in hot and ready to go.
The Bay Ridge boys walked right in, walked downstairs, and crushed it.
And so there were some people there, fans of ours, who were, first of all, there were a couple of people there who were close to us who were maybe a little nervous about how things were going to go. But luckily, Chris and Giannis rescued the day because they were...
Alex created some drama.
There was some drama where we were not recording for the first 5 minutes, but Alex...
this is why we ask, are we rolling? Alex, are we rolling?
He came out with his signal flares, his semaphore, and alerted us. There was no mic in the booth, so he literally had to run into the studio to let us know.
It was like a good 10, 15 minutes of pure... sheer terror.
And thanks to all the fans and the busybodies who came out to see us. It was great. And Andrew, we have another big live episode coming up that we should mention.
Yes, this is amazing. As part of the NYC Podfest coming up the weekend of April...
the date is Sunday, April 8th. The Podfest is the 6th to 8th.
The 6th, 7th, and 8th. Sunday, April 8th, 1 p.m. at the Abrams Art Center in the East Village.
Lower East Side.
Lower East Side.
Sorry to keep correcting you.
No, it's okay. Abrams Arts Center. That's my bit, is I get things kind of wrong.
Yes.
Anyway, we are doing a live podcast, 1 p.m., and we can finally announce our guest.
Yes, finally. An old friend
very
of ours,
exciting.
someone that we were a page with at NBC back in the day.
We were both pages with her, and now she has lapped us in success.
She's the co-host of The View. She's on Good Morning America, correct? Sara Haines.
Sara
Haines is going to be our
Haines.
guest. And
America's sweetheart.
Yes. Oh, my God. And someone who is seriously busy. So, but
has just had a baby.
So excited.
Could not believe she said yes.
So excited to talk to her. So excited to catch up with her. Please, before they sell out, go get your tickets at nycpodfest.com. Sunday, April 8th, 1 p.m. And there's a lot of other great pods as part of the festival as well.
Oh, my God.
So
all of the big ones.
I don't know if they have, if you go there, I'm sure they have some sort of deal where you can...
How to Be a Person with Drucker and Dweck is one of my favorite podcasts. They're doing a live show. Mm-hmm. The Pod Save America people are doing a podcast.
That's right.
It's insane.
So that'll be fun. And do we have a busybody this week, Andrew?
Yes. So, former busybody of the week, Mikey Berlin. I went to his birthday party. Where I ran into former guest of the pod, Scott Rogalski. Whatever.
Not to name drop.
But, yeah, HQ McMaster. And so I'm talking to Mikey Berlin, and his co-birthday celebrant.
How much did Rogalski get paid to appear at the birthday party? Just kidding. Keep going.
$7,000.
All right.
His co-birthday celebrant walks up to me, never met her, and she's like, oh, my God, you're Ange Gold. And I was like, what? And she's like, I love your podcast.
Wow.
Mikey turned me onto it, and she started going into detail with I love this episode, and I love when you guys do this. And, it was kind of the first time where somebody I don't know or went to camp with was saying they enjoy the podcast and listen regularly.
And her name is?
Oh, sorry. I buried the lead. Steffi Glazer is our busybody of the week. Shout out to Steffi Glazer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, Steffi. I'm sure she will hear this.
Our first organic fan.
No, we've had a few. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there have been plenty of people who've been surprise listeners. So
no, but it was really cool.
Nice, great. I want to ask Andrew what else he's busy with, but first, first. Alex, anything else you want us to mention about the Showbiz family? Please listen to go to showbizstudios.com, the YouTube page, the Facebook page, and check out all the other great podcasts that they have on
Any
the network.
TV legends have been in the studios lately?
Has Captain Kangaroo been in here?
Oh, Jerry Lewis's manager.
Was on the
What a name.
Was on the Carson podcast. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, that was all
right.
That's pretty exciting.
This is what you're
There
missing
you
by
go.
not subscribing to the Carson podcast.
Yeah, and please also go to our Facebook page, our Twitter. Follow us on Twitter @Busy Podcast, and rate and review us on iTunes.
It's very important. We need those ratings.
We're
We need
on
those
everything.
reviews.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and
Google Play?
who we are. I believe we're on Google Play.
I don't even know what that is.
iHeartRadio, but I think they went bankrupt. Not sure. Okay, real quick before we
Westwood
get to
One?
West,
No,
we are
Clear.
we're on Clear Channel. Andrew, before we we're
Matt.
billboards. We're on billboards.
Yeah.
Before we get to our guests, what have you been busy with?
Listen, Jamie and I recently, last Saturday night, we kind of nostalgically, we haven't been there in a while, but it's been creeping into our, we just keep passing it and being like, we haven't been there in a long time. We should go there for dinner. Used to be Houston's, now it's Hillstone.
Yes,
Right?
sure. Do you know why they changed the name?
It was like a weird bankruptcy.
No.
Oh, because they had to show the calorie totals on their.
Chain restaurants have to show calorie totals on their in
Yeah.
New York City, and so they changed from Houston's, which is a
like a mom and pop
chain, to like they
Hillstone.
pretended to be Hillstone.
Anyway, there's a few of them in New York, and
Yeah.
we both realized that we both hadn't been there in a very long time. So we went there Saturday night, and as we walk in, and it's the one in Flatiron-ish
Yeah.
area. I realized the last time I was there was like 12 years ago with you and your brothers.
Wow.
And my question is, why were we there? I'll get to that in a minute. But I realized the reason I haven't been back is because I lost credit card roulette that night.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
And
I
it was
don't-
at a time when I was making $0.
I have no memory of this.
And I was really, I was like, fine, I'll do it. And I paid the bill. But I was like, it put like a sour taste in my mouth about going to
It was
Houston,
just the
Hillstone.
three of us?
I think so, and I can't remember why we were there. It must have been like for March Madness or
I would think an
something.
Eagles game or something, maybe.
It wasn't a weekend. It was
No?
like an evening.
Really?
I don't
Was
remember.
my
but
brother living here at the time?
Yes, I
Wow.
think it was. Russ was definitely the one who said, "Let's do credit card roulette."
Yeah, that sounds like him.
And then
'Cause that's a big Vegas thing.
And of
like
course
you go to
I
Vegas
lost.
on a bachelor party and 12 people play credit card roulette.
Yeah, but we
It's
were
not
like
quite as
4
exciting
people.
to play it with 3 people at a Hillstone.
And the waitress picks the credit card, and that's the one that has to pay the bill. And of course, I lost.
Yeah.
And again, I was making like $0.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So I had this like
So you
terror.
you purposely were scared to ever go back there because
It wasn't
you were,
that, I
you were
just-
worried that even if you were by yourself, someone was
I
going to make you pay for their
projected
meal.
my feelings onto the restaurant instead
Wow.
of the Goldich brothers.
And now you finally went back for some
Yeah, we went back. We had a great meal.
spinach artichoke dip or
It
something.
was wonderful.
Yeah,
it was great.
Good for you. I'm glad you got over your fear. That's finally. I do not remember this particular event,
Well, Russ,
although I have eaten at that Hillstone multiple times.
Russ, if you're listening, please write in
yes,
and let us know
see if you can
why
remind
we
us
were there.
why we were there, or if you remember the occasion. All right, we'll be right back with our guest. For you, the listeners of Sorry I've Been So Busy, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. You can download any book you want. You could download Jensen Karp's book, Kanye West Owes Me $300, his great memoir about being a white teen rapper. We had Jensen on the podcast to talk about his book, and it was awesome, and he's a super interesting guy, so check that out. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/SIBSB. Again, that's audibletrial.com/SIBSB for your free audiobook. All right, we're back with our guest. Very excited to have him, a guy that I know from many years ago, Andrew as well, from the comedy scene in New York City. And it's awesome that he came in on his week off from work. It's the co-head writer of Saturday Night Live and a very funny comedian. Bryan Tucker is here. Welcome, Bryan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming
Thanks
in.
for doing this.
Yeah.
I always have no idea about well, you have kids, so I have a sense of it, but like if people who work on SNL just stay on that schedule during their weeks off, or if you we're here in the morning and I have no idea of is this an ungodly hour for you, or am I or do we ask you to do something unsavory?
I'm one of the exceptions at SNL in that I'm kind of the older guy, and I have kids. My second kid was 2 weeks old when I started SNL in 2005. So I was already, when I started, I was a guy with kids. So I was not the guy who was sleeping till noon every day. I was getting up with my kids, getting them off to school, and then maybe going back to sleep for a couple hours. But which I still do today. I still get up, get them off to school, and then go rest.
Yeah. Did you wait? How old was your kid born when you got hired at SNL, or your second kid?
My second kid. I'll give you that's one of the great stories of my whole life. If you want,
sure.
I'll try to give you a quick summary of it. Basically, I had emergency surgery the day my kid was born.
Whoa.
I had
it was like a This Is Us episode.
I had gallstones, and they were misdiagnosed because normally they happen in older people and women and overweight people, but I was a young, skinny 32-year-old. So they were misdiagnosed until finally I kept having these attacks, and they did this ultrasound, and they said, your gallbladder is going to burst, and we're amazed it hasn't burst yet. Wow. So as I walked back from the ultrasound, my wife got a call and said, you got to bring him in right now, because if it bursts, he could die. And my wife said, well, I'm 9 months pregnant, and we're supposed to induce tomorrow. Because she was already a little bit overdue with our second child. So, I had no choice. I had to go in. I got my gallbladder out, and when I woke up, my mom was sitting there, and she had driven up from Virginia, and she said, now don't worry, but my wife's water just had broke when I was under getting surgery. And she said, it's okay. She's back at home, because your water can break and then you can have the baby 12 hours later even. Usually it's less than that. So I was under anesthesia. I couldn't really move, but I was like, oh, okay. And then that was at about 5 o'clock. And then I was instructed to stay in my room. And then at about 11 o'clock, I got a call, and my wife is like, this baby's coming. I might have this baby in the kitchen. This baby's coming. And I was like, oh, gosh. Well, luckily my mom was there to take care of my oldest child, who was 2 at the time. And she said, I'm getting in a cab. So she got in a cab, and then she called me, and she was like, I think I'm going to have this baby in a cab.
Oh, my God.
And so I said, just hang in there. I was completely helpless. I wasn't supposed to get up or move or anything. And so then she called again on her cell phone. She said, okay, I'm outside the hospital. They're bringing me in. And that was at 11:52, or they officially checked her in at 11:52. And I asked the nurse to get me up. I wasn't supposed to walk till next day, but I went down with my gown and my IV in the service elevator down to another floor, met her. She officially checked in at 11:52 and had the baby at 11:56.
Oh my God!
So I remember the nurse being like, let's see what we got going on here. And when she looked, her eyes just suddenly widened, and she was like, oh my God. And and then we went to the birthing room, and there was like a lady mopping up, and the doctor said, get the fuck out of here. And the lady was like, and so they put my wife up on the table, and there was no, obstetrician there or anybody to actually deliver the baby. It was just the same nurse who checks you in, who doesn't do that kind of thing. Yeah, the cab driver was there. It was like an 80s comedy. And so
Howie Mandel.
Yeah, right. He was great. He had a lot of great quips. And so, they put her up, no drugs, no preparation, and the nurse was just holding the baby, waiting for someone, to come in, and I was...
And you're still loopy.
I'm still loopy, and then, finally a doctor comes in about 5 minutes later and takes the baby, puts the baby under a heat lamp, and I, basically get super woozy and, sit down, because my stress level.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, they and then the next day the hospital was like, you guys are the talk of this hospital, and they put us in like a little. They interviewed us and put us in a little like commercial, like a PR for the hospital. So.
It's almost like it almost could have been. If it was like a touch, it almost was like something out of that SNL sketch in the hospital, the old one with the Appalachian
emergency room, right?
My wife's got the baby and I've got to go.
That's right. I got gallstone. She's about to pop over here. Yeah,
that's amazing. And so, and all this is going on. And have you already now on top of this, have you already been hired for SNL at this point? Do you know you're about to start in 2 weeks?
I had been hired for SNL. I was coming off Chappelle show, which had finished up in that spring very
suddenly.
Yeah. I got hired on SNL, and then gosh, it was less than 2 weeks after she was born.
Amazing. I'm trying to think if you would have gone to any job 2 weeks off of gallstone surgery and baby being born, or if it was like if some week-long freelance gig called you would have been like, I'm going to keep resting and I'm going to stay with it. Yeah,
I probably would have. I probably could have given in between Chappelle's show and Saturday Night Live. I worked on a show called I've forgotten its name. Anyway, it was hosted by a guy who was a clown on MTV2.
This is my wheelhouse. I should know this.
Yeah. And it was two guys from Atlanta. Anyway, I forgot the name of it, but I would have maybe passed up that job.
Yeah.
So
I'm also imagining it's crazy to think that like your wife was pregnant and was like, Bryan, could you get me the thing, like the heat pad from over here? And you're like, actually, I'm kind of going through a thing myself. Like,
yeah, that was tough for us. I mean,
right? You both have abdomen pain.
Yeah, totally. I mean, she also had the baby to deal with. I was certainly dealing with the baby, but the baby was being brought to her in her room and. That was not great for our marriage for a little while. Not that it caused serious strain, but she was a little like, you should have gotten this diagnosed, a long time ago, or gotten this looked at. I was the kind of guy who was like, it'll be okay.
And you weren't like, you should have gotten to the hospital 6 hours earlier.
Maybe I said that inside.
But we know each other from way back because I mean I don't guess you don't do too much stand up anymore. Are you still around doing stand up here and there?
About once every 6 to 8 months, which is just enough to be bad.
Yeah.
I'll do like charity shows or like even this Thursday we have an SNL writers show.
Oh, nice.
At QED, which is my friend Christian Cambry's space.
Yeah, just to keep your benefits, you got to do one show every 6 months.
Yeah. But when I was first moved to New York in 2001, and I was just starting out doing stand-up, you were like always out there kind of doing Pound of the Pavement. I would see you always at Luna and like different gigs like that, and you were like one of the funniest guys.
Thank you.
Speaking of, and I do this a lot.
Oh, gosh.
I reached out to somebody.
Oh, boy. This is a surprise. Andrew didn't even tell me about this.
This is your life.
I know, right?
Okay. Tucker did a sketch at Indigo, which I believe was called Mr. Stinky.
But Mr. Spicy.
But he later corrected and said it was Mr. Spicy.
Yeah.
Where I would be doing stand-up, trying out a new joke, and unbeknownst to me, when I told the joke, behind me, Tucker would appear in a crazy outfit, something with a bathrobe, and and goose the crowd. I think it was for me, but the audience was reacting to Mr. Spicy. Eventually, I tell them how happy I was. Spicy would walk out, they'd laugh, how touched I was. Spicy would laugh. Except on and on and on. Finally, I'd catch him and kick him off the stage and bring out the next act.
That's right. Is that Chris DeLuca?
Chris
DeLuca.
And he used to do Indigo with
past
him.
guest.
Yeah, that's
past
right.
guest of the Sorry I've Been So Busy podcast before he moved to LA.
We love DeLuca. Yeah. What are your memories of Mr. Spicy?
So, that Indigo was a weekly show that I would help out with for the better part of 2.5 years every week. And we would just do fun stuff. That was also a time in my life where I was a little more wild and willing to try things. And so,
now you can just give them to other people to try.
That's
if
true.
If you have a wild idea,
it's nice. I'll be like, hey, you get in the wig and the robe and dance around.
Exactly,
Never lost.
That's right. So I So yeah, I came up with a character named Mr. Spicy who would come out. He had underwear and a robe, and a wig that was on backwards. And when DeLuca would say a joke, I would run out from the bathroom, which was way in the back, and run kind of behind him on stage, dance around for a little bit, and then run off. So yeah, it was kind of maybe something you'd see like at, I don't know, that's old vaudeville.
Yeah.
Or at a baseball game when a drunk fan runs on the field.
Did you do a lot of sketch stuff too? Because I remember seeing you do stand-up and stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick, my background is I started off with 4 friends of mine at the University of North Carolina. We did sketch and improv, game-based improv, not scene-based improv.
Anton Jameson was one.
Yeah, he was so funny. But he was like, guys, I got this basketball thing. And we did sketch, improv, and stand-up, and then like music. Wow, you guys are giving some deep cuts here.
I don't know that one.
That's great. I love that you know that.
Yeah.
And we formed a group in college, and then ended up doing that show locally, and then nationally. We did the NACA circuit, like you saw that we talked about Pete Holmes earlier, and did 500 shows in 4 years.
Wow.
All around the country, mostly at shitty college snack bars.
Yeah.
But also at the Improv in L.A. and Caroline's.
What was the name of the group?
In New York. They were called Selected Hilarity.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Corporate.
Lovely. Yeah.
Sounded very corporate.
But also very, what do you call it? Artisanal.
Who came up with that? Dante Calabria?
Oh my God!
I love that you know this.
You're on the right podcast.
Actually,
Bryan
this is
Tucker.
mostly an ACC basketball podcast.
Yeah, that's all we talk about.
So,
I love that
we made you aware of that. Yeah.
So
Cherokee Parks. Sorry, I'm going to stop.
Duke.
Sorry. You're right.
No, it's an ACC.
I ruined it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
But we broke up. I moved up to New York and started over. But luckily, I had all this experience underneath my belt to go and do this. And so when I hit the open mic scene, I was in general better than other people because I had already done 500 shows in the last 4 years.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's not. It was just an experience thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the Mr. Spicy thing? Was that the thing that you said you remembered of his?
No.
From back in the day?
This is a perfect transition. And I did this on our live pod with Giannis because he legitimately has one of my favorite stand-up chunks of all time.
Yeah.
His thing about girls loving the word cute. But I will do it again. I was so excited when you agreed to do this podcast because for the longest time, I always, when your name anytime comes up in comedy conversations, I'm like, he has one of my favorite stand-up jokes of all time. And I'm so excited to confront you with this.
Yes.
I saw you at those Friday night shows at the Gershwin, which was like basically a hostel.
Yeah.
It was like an Art Deco hostel.
That was kind of the beginning of getting away from comedy clubs and getting into like one-nighter rooms.
Yeah.
And so Christian Finnegan ran that show, oddly enough. And I just remember seeing you. I was like an NBC page at the time and just like going to this cool Friday night comedy show. And you got on stage with the demeanor that you're known for, and you pull an empty Cheetos bag out of your pocket.
Yeah, right.
And you like start sort of telling the audience about it. You're like, see here on the bag, there's a picture of Chester Cheetah, and he's pulling the cheesy lever, and it's on Dangerously Cheesy.
That's right.
And then you flip the bag over, and you start reading the ingredients, and you're like, may contain AIDS.
It's dangerously cheesy. It warned us.
Yeah. I quote that joke probably more than any other joke.
Well, thank you.
I tell people all the time.
I'm very flattered that people remember this. In my last, 10, 12 years, I do so much more writing than stand-up, and I'm very flattered that people still remember the stand-up. So thank you.
Was that a bit that you did? Like you just took an empty bag of Cheetos anytime you had a stand-up gig? You're like a prop comic.
For about 6 months, I had the Cheeto bag in my back pocket.
And then your cleaning lady throws it out, and you're like, honey, where is the Dangerously Cheesy?
There was a time where I did like forget it at a show or whatever, and then I had to go like skulk back into a deli and try to find a bag that had Dangerously Cheesy on it.
I tell the story often because hot Cheetos is like a big thing now, especially in the
Takis.
In the hip hop.
They're making a movie.
Rap snacks. And
do you know they're making a movie about the Flaming Hot Cheetos guy?
Really?
Yeah. The guy apparently he was a janitor at Frito-Lay or something, and he pitched the idea for Flamin' Hot Cheetos because for the Latino market, and then they sort of like gave him like a job. Yeah. I might be getting the story somewhat wrong. He may have started as a janitor, and then he was working in marketing when he and it became like the sensation of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Now they're making a movie.
I'm always like, if you think these are hot. There was a Dangerously Cheesy back in the day, and true. Those things may have contained AIDS.
That's how hot they were.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's given me years.
You never
of joy
know when you
joke.
bring up somebody's like old bit if it's going to be like something like where they're like, oh yeah, that's my signature thing that I did all the time, and you're the 10 millionth person to tell me that. Or if it's like I did that once on stage and I don't even remember what you're talking about.
I wasn't like all this time walking here. I was like, I wonder if that's a thing that you were doing.
I did that often for 6 months and then put it away. So it had its day. Definitely. I was not at all afraid to pull out a piece of paper or something. And
shout out to Chester Cheetah.
Yeah.
I remember it was a big deal when because I obviously knew you, I'd seen you around, and then I probably knew you were writing for Chappelle's show, but then when I saw you in the I Know Black People sketches, which were like, did you write those as well?
No, not that one. That is completely organic. Like that, nobody was fed any lines there. They just kind of set it up.
That they seem totally improvised or totally. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
That is a sketch that was shot in 2004.
Yeah.
And 14 years later, I probably still once every 2 weeks someone comes up to me and talks to me about that.
The thing about those that are so amazing is like, first of all, like Chappelle's like he's such a great straight man. Like you don't think of him that way, where he's like just like him giving a look is so funny, or like in reaction to somebody's answer, or like coming, what's the answer you give where he goes, that is correct, or like where it's surprisingly correct, or there's
I think maybe it was the he's got a question about like what do we need to do to get ahead, or what do we need to do to get out from under, something like that. And I was like, is this a hip hop lyric? And he was like, no, it's not. And I said, oh gosh, that's a really complicated question. And he was like, that is correct.
And the guy says vote, and that's wrong.
Oh yeah, it was the only one that was wrong.
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh my God. Were there two of those, or was it?
They did it in 2 parts.
Oh my God.
Was that cool when Chappelle came and hosted SNL?
It was really cool. It was one of the most stressful weeks of my life, but it was also probably one of the most memorable.
More stressful than the gallbladder pregnancy thing?
Number 2. It was probably
a different kind of stress.
Okay, sorry.
He had been thinking about hosting. He came and kind of hung out and talked, and then he said, okay, I'm going to host. And then he came like a week before, and like we talked, and I was kind of like the kid who, when you go to a new high school and you don't know anybody, but there's one kid like that was our relationship, where he was like, oh, Bryan, you know.
Yeah.
And so he hung out with me a lot that week, just because there was a trust factor there. You may remember, but that was also the week of the election.
Sure. Right.
The night we write everything is Tuesday night, and that was the night of the election. And a lot of our writers were watching the results, and when they came in, when it finally was settled at midnight or 1, somewhere in there, everyone was pretty devastated. So, or a lot of people were, at least. So, what was written for Dave that Tuesday night was stuff that was not very good. And when he read all these sketches out loud on Wednesday, it was a little rough, and he was already nervous about doing it, and he came very close to quitting.
Oh man.
And was, but we already
you ran into his dressing room and said, America needs you.
Well, it was kind of me and Neil Brennan.
Yeah.
Neil was his, I was his friendly coworker, but Neil was his friend.
Yeah.
So, Neil also helped a lot that week.
Former guest of the pod.
Former guest
by law.
Have to say former guest of the pod. But
that's really cool.
And it ended up, being one.
Right. We had things that we had already shot, or that we were at least in the process of shooting, like the Walking Dead thing with all the characters and stuff. And, slowly throughout the week, me, Neil Brennan, and Colin Jost worked on that voting sketch, And I was like, okay, if we can get that, and we get that,
the one with
Walking
Chris Rock,
thing, which originally was Dave and Leslie Jones, and then a day before, Dave called up Chris Rock and was like, I would feel a lot more comfortable if you were in there. Not that he didn't like Leslie, but Chris was his friend. And I knew Chris because I wrote on Chris's show. And so that was really cool for me, too, to have both those guys there. Anyway, the dress rehearsal went, and it was pretty good. You know, it was a slow climb the whole week. It was okay, you know. And then, like, when air came, Lorne told David maybe done 8 or 9 minutes of stand-up, and between dress and air, Lorne said something I don't hear very often. He's like, you know, your monologue can go longer if you want. You can do it more. And Dave was like, maybe I will. And so that monologue became 12 minutes, and Dave ended it with the bit about going to Obama's house in the White House, and you know, that party. And he hadn't done that in dress. And then the whole show kind of came together like a miracle. I think it was one of the best shows we've done. And so that was really gratifying for me, because I basically assured Dave when he came 3 weeks ago.
Right, it's on you.
Yeah, we can do this. You know, we have the apparatus here to make you, you know, funny and do this in the style that you want to do it. You know, you can kind of do more your show than our show. And he was skeptical about that until, you know, Saturday night at 11:30.
Right.
So.
And unfortunately, because his monologue went 12 minutes, Mr. Spicy got cut.
It was a shame, because Mr. Spicy killed.
He was going to be here like right after update.
Yeah.
He was going to like slide right in that right after update spot.
It's too bad.
That was Lauren's secret wish, was to kill Mr. Spicy.
Lauren again! Throw Spicy out there. Let's see what happens.
Well,
that's
my God. Thank you for that story. That was awesome.
Sure.
Cool. Well,
God, I had one other thing I wanted to say about that, which is just like, hey, next time we're going to elect a madman, just tell Lauren, push writing night to Wednesday.
Yeah,
you know? Like
totally.
maybe just,
It's weird.
Just so people aren't as, you know, quite, give them a day to.
We have such rituals at SNL. They've been doing it the exact same way since 1975, and it's amazing how, you know, we don't change it. I mean, it works for the most part, but it's very hard to switch things up.
Yeah, so. No. Well, not even for like a once in a million years event, but that I can't even imagine trying to write that night. Even if Hillary wins, it's hard to, you know, I mean, not that of all the people you should feel bad for, maybe not the, you know, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, when we started that read through on Wednesday, you know, there were people crying. Oh, sure. And you know, it's about, okay, let's read 40 funny sketches, you know, and like, it
hilarious.
Was not the right room.
We were did Dave feel good at the end
of the read through?
No, at the end of the show.
Yes, he
felt
did.
Like, okay, we did it.
He felt incredible.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and you know, it made a point to come up to me after the show, and you know, I kind of told him, like, by Update, which he had done this incredible stand-up monologue, one of the best SNL monologues I think ever. Because of it was Dave Chappelle and the exact timing that it had, you know, the day after the election, or the 4 days after the election when America really was.
It's like the hardest thing, like bringing from a low to a high instead of just like keeping it high. But anyway, so you told him so.
And then you know, and then he had done the election sketch, and then the Walking Dead sketch, which you know were both great. And then on Update, while Update was on, I went into his dressing room to like share with him some changes. I was like, dude, you're playing with house money now. You know, you can relax. Mm-hmm. And I could tell, like, that was the first time all week where he was like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, where he wasn't, you know, tight inside. Yeah. So
now I can come back out and do my pro-Trump stuff.
That's right. Which it's amazing. Yeah, he does it. He's got a whole second circuit that we don't know about.
Sure.
You can see it all on NRA TV.
Well, what should we go
Let's get into Bryan's day.
I mean, like, it's up to you if you want to pick a specic day recently that was interesting and just take us through it, or not interesting, or if you want to take us through a typical day in your life, whatever you think you want to, however you want to go with this.
Sure. I'll do a day 2 weeks ago that was really fun for me because, but was also busy because Charles Barkley hosted. Oh. And I'm a big basketball fan, and we got to do. They did the Inside the NBA show in Studio 8H, and because SNL,
the actual show, not a sketch,
not a sketch. They did the show from 8H, and they asked us to help basically produce it and write it and use SNL people, and they just kind of because SNL is mostly theater kids who aren't sports fans.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few sports fans there. They were like, Brian, what do we do? And so I got
you and Che and like,
Yeah, Pete Davidson.
Sure.
It's usually in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And so they flew the whole crew up?
That's right. They flew the producers. They flew Kenny, Charles, and Shaq up to New York to do it. And they told, then I got to like sit down with them, and they were like, what do you think we should do? And so I got to help, give them ideas and stuff like that.
All right. So take us through. So
that's a Thursday, which was our... Again, SNL is very regimented. Tuesday we write. Monday we meet the host. Tuesday we write everything. Wednesday it's read out loud and the show is picked. Thursday we split up into 2 groups of writers and we rewrite everything. We split the sketches in half and we sit at a table and rewrite everything. And so that was Thursday is rewrite day. And we also block and rehearse some of the sketches. I'll give you from the beginning, I guess, but I'll do it quickly. Yep. I wake up at 7:15 because my kids have to be out the door by 7:45, 7:50.
Wow, they're quick dressers. And,
I
guess they're older, so they can.
12 and 14, so
12 and 14.
They know what they're wearing.
Yeah, they make their own lunch. All I do is kind of get them up and make them a smoothie and stuff. I get them out the door. I probably go back to sleep for about an hour and a half. And then I get up and I have to be I do some chores and errands and walk the dog, and then I have to be at SNL at 12:30. We do our rewrite table it usually lasts from 12:30 until about 8 p.m.
Wow. Have you eaten at this point?
Oh, right. We usually order lunch at our rewrite table.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're like, I don't need to buy a bagel on my way to work because
that's right.
Tons of free food.
Yeah, it used to be before the writer's strike. It used to be that the show would pay for the food. We would get great food.
Right.
And then the writer's strike happened, and the producers were like, well, fuck these writers. And so a lot of our free fun stuff got taken away. And so now we order our own food.
Ugh.
I know. It's just a shame. We have to live like everyday Americans.
Just an everyday American who goes to work at 12:30.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before that, I had to have like a little producers meeting with the TNT people. I had sent them through email. I had met with them before and sent them through email. How about this? And how about this? And we came up with 4 segments. They do 4 segments on their show. And the show lasts this is something I didn't know. The show lasts anywhere from 18 minutes to like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't have any set time on it or whatever, which was really strange for me because SNL is very, exactly.
Yeah.
Timed.
Yeah.
This must be the fact that this is happening on a day when you would normally be very busy otherwise. But I guess there's procedures in place where other people can cover for you on other things.
Yeah. I'm still doing my other stuff. It's the Charles Barkley show, which again is right in my wheelhouse. It's sports.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple of sketches going on in the show. I help write his monologue and a thing with Alex Rodriguez. But got writers together the night before and wrote a Keenan as LeVar Ball thing. So he came on with them. From 12:30 to 8, I'm helping at the rewrite table. We're rewriting sketches, and then we go and block stuff. I get up, and every now and then I'll go and maybe have a quick chat or meeting with some of the producers, and maybe even Lorne Michaels, who has thoughts about the monologue or the cold open or whatever. He doesn't show up usually to work until Thursday around 3 or 4.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
I have a question about the rewrite table.
Yeah.
People fully focused on the task at hand, or people on their phones discouraged, people getting up for a few minutes to go do something else and coming back, or is it a real is it a
It's a good
leisurely
question.
stroll, or is it like a focused sprint?
It's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
You are definitely discouraged from kind of checking out and being on your phone and stuff. That's not that's not helpful. However, SNL is very it's very individual in a lot of ways. It's a lot of individual voices instead of one group voice. So if it's your sketch, that you wrote, then you're kind of a lot more invested in it, So if a sketch is written by, one of our writers, Julio Torres, it's time for Julio's sketch. And he is very invested in it. Everybody else is kind of sitting back a little bit, relaxing and throwing out possible ideas.
Right.
Every now and then there'll be a sketch where it's like, we really like the idea of this, but the execution did not live up to what it should have been. And so what we call is a page one rewrite, where we sit down at the rewrite table and say, okay, this is what probably these are the notes from above of what this should be. We just beat it out, and then that person usually leaves the rewrite table and goes to their office.
Cries.
And rewrite. No. Usually they're just glad they have a sketch on the show. And often that page one rewrite is not because the sketch was really lackluster. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just because Lorne Michaels has a much different idea of what this should have been. So we do that until about 8 o'clock, and then I go and meet again with the TNT guys. Ernie Johnson is down with the director and some of our producers. It's very loose, a lot more so than SNL. SNL is, we're doing this exactly like this. We've rehearsed it, we blocked it. Ernie, it's like, okay, then Leslie Jones will come on and talk about, how she likes fundamental basketball with the guys.
Right.
And then that's it. And me being SNL producer, I'm like, well, what is she saying? What are we talking about?
There's no wing in it.
And Ernie's like, yeah, it'll be all right. And so what I found out later is they intentionally don't tell, especially Charles and Shaq, but also Kenny, really, they kind of know what they're about to talk about, but they don't give them any notes or thoughts because the spontaneity is the secret sauce of the show, which was, really different from what I thought or from what I'm used to. SNL is very, the director needs to know where the camera cuts are. Sure. We rehearse it very exactly.
But that's also why that's the best post-game show, right? Because
nobody can recreate it.
Right.
Because it's also scripted and
But they have to produce some part, like when they get up to do demos, like when Kenny goes to the net, they can't just be like, and then you'll demo something.
Right. Well, that's right. So there are, Kenny knows what his segment is and when. And Shaq knows he's going to do Shaq in a Fool, and they've shown, blooper clips to him that he can kind of... but mostly it's just reacting.
Got it.
And the guy who has to manage it all is Ernie Johnson, and I was amazed watching him at, there was no rehearsal. They turned on the camera, and he just started talking, and it seemed scripted to me.
Cool.
And it was really cool. And so we all sat down in 8H, and they recreated their set. We had done Inside the NBA, a couple of them before, and we already had that set already. And so they recreated their set and did it, and then I just kind of paced back and forth. The only real scripted part was Keenan as LeVar Ball, where we had real cue cards.
And other people had lines. Kenny, Shaq.
That's right.
Yeah.
And again, did not rehearse once. And I kind of came down. I mean, I was down there already, but I kind of, before they rolled, I kind of came in. I was like, do we want to rehearse this?
Yeah.
And Shaq was like, no rehearsal. And I was like, well, that's kind of how we do things here, especially with scripted. And Shaq was like, it'll be fine, man. And I was like, okay. And so...
that's so funny.
Keenan is just a pro and came out...
Well, the LeVar Ball impression has just become... It's taken on a life of its own.
It's one of the most fun creations that Keenan and I have done this year. We really enjoy that impression. I mean, Keenan's great at it, and when he came out, that was a blessing for us, this summer.
Yeah.
So,
but it also must be fun for Keenan because it's different knowing, as opposed to doing it on the show where everything is tightly scripted and he, you know, and maybe he breaks or something like that. But like this is almost like a chance to like improvise within the character with the guys.
Yeah.
So it's like a different
So
muscle.
there was that, you know, Kenny jumped his line and Keenan was like, you know, hold on there, Kenny, you know, and said, and then after it was done, they showed Lakers highlights from that night, which included Lonzo. And Keenan as LeVar had to kind of comment of like, you know...
in the moment, improvising.
In the moment, my boy, so cool. Look at him. And like Dwayne Wade would shoot over Lonzo and make a basket, and Keenan would be like, old man luck, you know.
It's so great. You know, it's so funny because Never Lost has like become a memeable thing.
Yeah.
Like last night, you know, big Sixers game, Markelle Fultz played for the first time, and they cut to the audience, and Mac Hollins, former UNC receiver, by the way, on the Eagles, was in the audience, and he did the backpack dance. And so he posted himself doing the backpack dance at the game, and he tagged it Never Lost.
Ah, nice. Well, LeVar Ball did say Never Lost before. It's not a complete creation of ours, but I think we've, pushed it hard.
But it's become the NEVA, LOS. It's just become this, like, internet. And, like, I live in that world.
Me too.
Stuff I do, so.
Yeah, it's like the SNL when Tina Fey as Sarah Palin said, "I can see Russia from my house."
Yeah,
like that became a thing where everybody thought Sarah Palin said that actually, but
no.
Yeah.
Or not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it, right? Yeah. maybe George W. Bush or H.W. Bush said that sometime in his life.
But now it's like, you know, maybe if Keenan's the longest tenured cast member, right? So even if
15 years
at one point may have felt like it might be time to give it up, but now he's got Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball. He could do it for another, you know, as long as LeVar's as long as Lonzo's playing.
Yeah, it's true. It's great to have like a new fun character to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Keenan he's still going pretty strong there. He's had a good year, you know, especially the Charles Barkley and the Sterling K. Brown shows. He had
well, calling it out in the Celebrity Jeopardy sketch was really fun.
Oh, yeah. You mean in Family Feud?
The Family Feud. Sorry,
Yeah.
That was so funny.
I get things half wrong all the time.
No, it's okay.
So what time did the Inside the NBA wrapped up?
So that wraps up at 11:30. And all the guys are going out. Shaq wanted to go to a hookah bar, I think that he co-owned, and that's all he wanted to do was get it. That's why he didn't want to rehearse. He wanted to get out there and go to a hookah bar. The other guys, including the TNT producers, were just going to a local bar. Mm-hmm. I had some rewrites to do for SNL, but I met them at about 12:30 and actually had like a 20-minute drink with Charles Barkley and a couple other people, which was really cool.
Mostly about the show or about basketball?
A little bit of both. Yeah. I try to talk basketball. You know, I'm a huge basketball fan, and I tried to talk basketball with him, but I can tell it's a little like, someone in comedy kind of coming up and trying to like talk comedy with you. I can see it in his eyes, or he's a little like, who is this guy?
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of backed off that and mostly just talked about, you know, the show and other stuff. So.
Yeah, that's so fun.
And then you go home and...
I go home. I'm home by maybe 1.
Yeah.
And get up on Friday and
to do the kids again.
Yeah.
To school. Yeah. That's such a weird thing because it's like... I always am like, I could never do that schedule. I could never do that schedule, like writing all night. And then you realize, like, part of the reason you write all night is to get your body clock, especially the cast members, right? And the crew and everybody ready for Saturday because you want to be peaking at Saturday at 11:30. You don't want to be,
Yeah, that's true. While that is true, I'm not sure we need to write until 8 to 10 in the morning on Wednesday morning. That wears on me a bit. And I think if I, came in at 11 a.m., instead of started writing at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And if I'm writing at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, I'm one of the first people that's really writing. And I still, and I do that. I try to get a sketch done by dinner. That's my goal. But it's just, part of it is there are rational reasons for it, like you just listed, but also part of it is just, that's the way we do things. And it's a bit irrational.
Yeah. Oh man, I could ask a million more questions about that, but I don't want to. But is there anything else you want to do before we get to the blow off?
No, we can get to the blow off. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
We can go to the blow off. I usually have like one extra question.
I know.
I mean, obviously I could go on.
Black Jeopardy, was that you?
Me and Michael Che.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Do you get the like you're the white writer for all the black stuff?
Yes.
I didn't say that as eloquently as possible.
No. I mean, that's a question I get all the time.
You said it as directly and succinctly.
In a in a very smaller way, a lot of my career has been in that direction.
Yeah.
And you know, I from afar, I'm like
Charlemagne and people like that.
I've worked with Charlemagne and Jesus and Mero and
really? I didn't know that.
Now, and now I'm making a show at Complex and stuff like that. So, it's been fun. And I think I asked Neil a version of this question when he was here, but like finding young African American writers and performers, and you know, I always find that it's tough.
Yeah,
and
I think finding performers is not hard. I think finding writers.
That's what I'm saying. Is there's a want to perform.
Yeah,
and it's hard to find because I'm always looking.
Yeah.
To make myself feel less awkward in some of these situations.
I mean, I could give you at least a couple recommendations, like maybe later. But I agree, it's hard. I remember I wrote for a show called The Primetime Kings of Comedy, which was a Fox pilot. This was in 2003 or 4, somewhere in there. And on that show was Ricky Smiley, Niecy Nash, Earthquake, and a young upstart named Tyler Perry. Wow. I wrote a sketch with Tyler Perry called The Pew, which was like The View, but it was old church ladies, and Medea was one of them. Anyway, but I remember Earthquake was on the show. Earthquake was part of the show. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
And they had also made him a writer. They made him a performer and a writer. And like they set him up with a desk and a computer and stuff. And I remember he came in that day and he was like, "What is this?" And it was like, "This is your desk. You're a writer." And he was like, "I don't do that shit." and he was like, "I spent my whole life, getting away from that. That's why I do comedy, because I don't have a desk and I don't have to come in an office every day and do this shit." And everyone was like, "Well, I guess that makes sense." And he wrote a little stuff here and there, but mostly he was like, I don't want to be a writer. And so I think there is at least some of that with performers, where writing feels like a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someday there's going to be a tweet about like a panel called like Writing for Black Voices, and it's going to be pictures of you, Neil, Andrew, and one other white guy, and then like the tweet blows up, and people, the ratio is like 1,000 tweets back at people getting mad. It's like, what
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with Hamburger?
No, I never
have. He's my favorite.
Hamburger.
He tags every joke with Hamburger.
Yeah.
Also on brand for me.
I wonder how many people have worked with Earthquake and Hamburger.
That would be great.
Diagram, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
He tags every joke and also any sad news. So he's like, the doctor said it's malignant.
Hamburger.
Oh, he knows it's got the sad hamburger. The sad hamburger. Feels like a sad trombone.
Yeah, people don't know that about him. But if you get to know him.
Yeah. It's like a burger from like Church's Chicken.
He just says it. I'm imagining him like on a date, being like, so I want to tell you, you're somebody very special to me. Hamburger. And,
I feel like also...
And then they're like, what do you want to order?
Was some part of that motivation for Zoutalor? For Keenan.
Oh, yeah.
Zoutalor in Keenan is based almost directly on Bernie Mac's first appearance on Def Jam.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Where he's like, "I ain't scared of y'all motherfuckers."
Yeah.
Right.
And then he says something like "kick ass," and then the DJ plays like a track after he finishes his he does a punchline and goes "kick ass," and then the DJ plays a track and then boom, and then it quiets down, everybody's cheering, and then he looks around, he's like, "I ain't scared of y'all motherfuckers," and then goes in his next thing.
That video is so funny.
Yeah.
That's like I mean, you watch so much Def Jam, and it's just like, this, it's like the material's not good, but the performance is so quality. But it's like when you see Bernie on Def Jam, it's like, oh my god, like you have somebody who has like all the chops of what it's like to perform on that, but then with like fucking great jokes. Like it's such a fun. That is incredible.
Keenan's outfit what was this?
Oh, and maybe a Sinbad in the Jurassic Park.
Keenan's
auditions.
outfit was terrific.
It was great.
All right,
lots of pleats.
Do you blow people off? Have you blown anybody off recently?
This is the blow off. How do you blow people off?
Have you tried to weasel your way out of anything?
I'm trying to think. I definitely blow people off here and there. Having kids and having a job at SNL really helps for legitimate blow-off reasons. If someone, a lot of times someone will come up to me and say, can I send you a joke? Can I send you a sketch? Can I do, and I'll be like, no, it's not really allowed. And they're like, well, can you at least give me some advice? And often I do, but sometimes I'm just overwhelmed with that. And I'll say, send me an email. And that's a good way to blow people off.
We've talked about this many times on the podcast, the advice ask, the advice request, the sit down for coffee.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Which I will do maybe once a month
and you
for
hate
the
coffee.
last.
Yeah.
I don't drink.
Yeah.
This is true. I don't drink coffee, which you would think
the
of my
sit down
job.
for hot water and lemon.
Right. But I will do that maybe once a month for the past 10 years.
Do pages come out? Do pages ask you?
No, I think they.
I was the page at
know
SNL.
better. Oh yeah.
And we were like instructed never to.
When were you a page there?
2000.
Oh wow. Okay.
2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
I try as much as possible to avoid the sit down and get coffee, unless it's a favor to somebody else that I
then you have to
really
do
like.
it.
And
because there's feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's blowback if you don't do it.
I try to think of myself in that period and how valuable.
Sure.
Valuable is maybe the wrong word, but how meaningful it would be to have someone who had a job in TV actually sit down with me and talk to me about it. And I think at the very least that person leaves motivated and ready and like, oh, I feel like I want to do something. The problem is that I think people sometimes come in expecting a magic bullet, concrete steps, and it's just like, you got to keep trying, and there's a lot of luck involved.
Well, I remember it being a page, and again, it's like, don't, this isn't for you to like take time to, and I just remember Paula Pell was just so nice just offering it. Like, if you ever want to sit down, if you ever want to sit down and talk about, and she like told us her whole story, like all three of us sitting at the desk, she just like sat down and, story time with Paula.
That's great. I mean, she is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Not only in show
Jimmy
business,
Fallon would come by
and
swipe everything off our desk and keep walking. And
she's so funny. She plays the boss on Love. I don't know if you're watching Love, but she's on that. She's very funny at the radio station. She's great on everything.
AP
She's like
Bio,
turns up in everything. And
she's in AP Bio too.
Anyway, lots of nostalgic love for those staffs.
Before we get out of here, quickly tell us tell people where they can find you. What time and what night is SNL on? No,
that's like a question my mom asked.
Yeah, right.
Paige
and then also,
can I come see an SNL on a Thursday?
Yeah. Briefly, just mention also the Kicker too, and tell people about that. And just, just get the plugs in.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not huge on social media, but I am on Twitter at btuckertime. I helped start this vertical that's all comedy about sports called The Kicker. We have a staff of about 8 or 9 that constantly put out content videos and funny articles and stuff, and that's on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, Instagram, stuff like that.
Nice.
So
we had Torpy on right after he did the
Bobby Moynihan thing, right?
Yeah, at the sports science thing, which was wonderful.
He's great. He's been doing stuff for us ever since we started, and he's been doing stuff for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what we found out at the Kicker recently? We're doing a thing about Michael Jordan once had a Hitler mustache, and we were, it's like a fond look back at the time Michael Jordan had a Hitler mustache with like pundits.
Torpy and the commercial.
Yeah, we look back at the commercial and Torpy's there.
Yeah. He tells the whole story on our podcast. You should go back and listen.
Oh yeah,
it's a really wonderful story.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Dude, this is so much fun.
Was
Thank
great.
you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
in.
Thanks for having me.
Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
And
stay busy, everybody.
Whenever I get with her, say I'm busy, and I'm gonna hit you later 'cause I'm busy with her.